Welcome techies. In this video, we're going to build this calendar generator using tkinter. The way it works basically is you just choose the month and then you can enter whatever year you have there, and then it will generate the calendar based on that. So so I know this is not perfect, but also in this video, I'm going to explain why we've been using the pack layout manager mostly as our layout manager. All right, and I'm going to show you the reason why I don't use grid that much, although there are cases in which you might need to use grid. So without wasting time, let's get into the video. So the first thing we're going to do is import the required libraries, and the only one here is customtkinter. So if you're just watching my video for the first time, open your command prompt or terminal and then run this command. That should get you started. If you have any issues with that, make sure you comment down below so I can help you out. All right, so we're going to set up our base window, call it root, and that's fine. Okay, now let's create a label which is general calendar, just to stand as the title. We're going to create a month drop down. So the drop down you saw earlier in the video, this is how you achieve it using the CTK option menu. And then the values are going to be numbers from 1 to 12. If you notice, we are using list comprehension here, and what we are doing is changing this to strings because the values arguments have to be an array, or a list has to be a list of string rather. Okay, that's why we are typecasting the integer to a string right here. All right, so we're going to put it on the first column of the second row. Okay, so the way the row works is just like indexes. We have row equals to 0 for the first row and then row equals 1 for the second row. All right, so we're going to create the year as well. It's just a simple or a normal CTK entry widget. We're going to put that on the second column of the same row, and then I'm going to create a button which says generate. We're going to come back to define this function later. So that's the function that's going to be triggered whenever we click on the button. And then we're going to put this on this third row, which is row 2. And then we're going to say colon span 2, which means it should take 2 colon. So this is going to occupy both colon 0 and colon 1. That looks good. All right. So now we're going to create the label that is going to hold the calendar. So our calendar is actually being held in a label. Then we're going to inherit from root. The text for that is going to be generated from the calendar module. So let's import that. And then the way it's going to work is we're going to use a method called the month. And this month takes in 2 arguments, the year and then the month. So we're going to also use the calendar module to get the current year we are in. So no matter the year you're watching this video, it's going to get the current year. So we are going to do that by doing this calendar.datetime.date.today, and then we get the current year. That is the same thing we're going to do to get the current month. So just that we change the last thing there to months. All right, that looks good. And then we're going to put that on the fourth row, which is row of 3. So now let's define our function so we don't get an error when we try to run our application. We're going to define generate calendar, and yeah, let's run this to see if it works. So far it should. So Python calendar generator.py. Let's see what we've got. Let me drag that in. Okay, so that works fine. We have 1 to 12, and then we have the calendar of the current year and the month I recorded this video. This video is actually being recorded on the 9th of November 2023. All right, before we go into what our generate function will do, let me show you why I don't use grid a lot of times. I only use it when, and I would recommend or advise you to use it whenever you need to use it. Okay, but if it's not in need, I advise you to use any other layout manager like .pack or place. Usually I use .pack. So the reason is, let's say we create a label here for the choose month and enter here, just like we saw earlier in the video. Now imagine you want to put that just beneath your generate calendar. The issue with this is your month drop down and your year entry are already on the same row. So what's going to happen if you put those labels on the same row? tkinter does not know to shift that down, or rather it's going to cover that with your option, your drop down menu and your entry box. So those labels are actually there, but they are beneath those other widgets. So what we'll do instead is we would have to start changing everything, all the rows, moving them down to make sure our app works fine. And that's the issue I have with the grid. Imagine this app was a very large one, and then you need to change a whole lot of things just to make things work or move things around. So that's the reason why I would recommend you that you only use grid when it is necessary. So that works fine. All right, let's define what our generate calendar function will do. All we have to do is to simply update the content of our new cal widget by using the configure, and then we're just going to call the same method. But now, instead of getting our current year and month, we're going to get whatever the user chooses. So if the user chose 1 from the drop down, you're going to get January. So the same thing applies to February 2 up to December, which is 12. And then we're going to convert that to an integer because your menu widget and then your entry widget both returns strings. Remember, we converted these values to strings for the option menu, and by default, your entry widget returns a string as well. We're going to get the month as well, and let's see what we have. So let's test this and see. Okay, so I'm going to choose 9 there, which is November, and put 2013. Okay, so yeah, it works fine. But then we have, as you can see, it's not as perfect as you'd expect it to be. As you can see, the alignment with numbers and then the current days of the weeks. Okay, so I think that's an issue with the calendar there. But yeah, I think I've also been able to pass a message across of why you shouldn't always use grid as your first option, except you need to use it. All right, so now let's just move things down. Yeah, let's make sure it looks nice. We want to keep to pep 8. We don't want our line to be too long, essentially. So let's move those down. All right, so I'm gonna save that, and everything looks fine and good. It works, and let me run it again to make sure that didn't break anything. Cool. All right, guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Peace, guys.